In today's video, am I wrong about my high carb diet? Roll the titles.
For the record, I'm done trying to make y'all comfortable. For the record, you ain't trying to grow, then it's done for you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. As always, just a quick reminder that I'm now offering the SIBO organic acid stool tests and consult via my website. So if you have any health or digestive problems, then consider taking these tests, as they will provide a lot of very detailed information upon which you can start making informed decisions and then start getting your health back on track. And on that bombshell, to the video. So the very first thing that I want to say in the context of carbohydrates is that carbohydrates are not the problem when it comes to health issues. The problem with carbohydrates is the amount and type of carbohydrates you are consuming, and also more importantly, how well your body is adapted to be able to metabolize the carbohydrates that you are consuming. Now, there are lots of things in the body that will determine your ability to metabolize carbohydrates. So your microbiome status, your mitochondrial function, the lipid profile in your body, your hormonal status of your body, and even very fundamental things like sleep. So if there are problems in these and other areas, then your ability to correctly metabolize carbohydrates will be impacted, and then carbohydrates can be problematic for some people. And let's just state the obvious thing amongst all of this. Carbohydrates and sugar are the main fuel source for the body. Yes, your body can go through metabolic processes to produce glucose from non-carbohydrate precursors in the body, but your body will always use glucose as a primary fuel source where possible. And yes, before any ketogenic fans jump in, your liver can make ketones as an alternative fuel source when glucose levels are low in the body. But again, the body is doing this as a last resort rather than because it's optimal. And if you think about it very logically, you will understand how important glucose and carbohydrates are in the body. So your genetic material is made from 4 nitrogen containing nucleobases, a phosphate group, and also a sugar group. So this is how important carbohydrates are in your body. DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribose, which is ribose, which is a sugar. So your very genetic and fundamental basis for being human is based on a sugar. So despite low carb dieters telling you otherwise, how bad really can carbohydrates be in their whole form? So my body, your body, and everyone's bodies would not exist without this carbohydrate sugar DNA backbone group. And it just shows you how pivotal and necessary sugar is in the body, in that your body will also produce carbohydrates in the liver through a process called gluconeogenesis when your body is not given enough from dietary sources. So as I said before, the health problems that can arise from carbohydrates are not what you think. It's the amount of carbohydrates, it's the type of carbohydrates, and as I said before, more importantly, how your body is adapted to metabolizing sugar depending on many different metabolic processes. Eat whole form carbohydrates when there are no underlying gut issues or lipid problems in the body, and it is very unlikely that you will ever run into health issues from consuming carbohydrates. But obviously switch over from those whole form carbohydrates to processed refined carbs, and there will be a fairly strong correlation with subsequent health issues. And if you look at the consumption of processed refined sugars from the 1900s to today, it's absolutely frightening. Just over the last 30 years, the consumption in the US alone, for example, has increased by over 30%. And because of this, you then get the delinquent saying, well, look at these correlations between processed refined sugars and health issues in humans. Therefore, all carbohydrates must be bad. Now, if we go back to the basics of cellular function, when things go wrong, all of the cells in your body, all of the trillions of cells are little engines that run on sugar. Now, they will run on any form of sugar such as sucrose, but the favoured sugar is always glucose. And to be able to do this effectively, so to get the glucose into your cellular engines, well, then you need insulin. So you throw any form of carbohydrate down your neck, and then very soon you're going to have sugar in your blood, and it doesn't matter whether it's in the form of sucrose, glucose, or even fructose. Your cells will use it, but the better and preferred option will always be glucose. So you have carbohydrates in the blood, and now as a consequence of this, your pancreas will start secreting insulin to regulate your blood sugar levels. So the insulin will travel the length and breadth of your body and bind to insulin receptor sites on each and every one of your cells. This is the equivalent of your postman coming to your front door and pushing the doorbell. You open the door and then you take the parcel inside your house. And this is the equivalent with glucose and insulin. Glucose rings the bell and insulin lets it in. Now, in order for the glucose to ring the doorbell and insulin to let the glucose in, the cell needs to be not clogged with fat, and there also has to be decent levels of two very important trace minerals, vanadium and chromium, plus some other really important trace minerals. Otherwise, the glucose won't be taken up by your cell. And if these trace minerals are not present, glucose will bash the door, and unfortunately the correct signals won't be sent through to the cells, and insulin won't unlock the door. Then it is a snowball effect between glucose and insulin. Glucose builds up, insulin is secreted, it doesn't open the door for glucose, the glucose goes up further, followed by the pancreas pumping out more and more insulin. Now, this is just one example of where things can happen in the body that will cause carbohydrates to inadvertently be a problem in your body. And like I said before, gut infections, pancreas problems, mitochondrial issues, and many others can result in carbohydrate issues. And not one of these issues has ever directly been caused by glucose or sugars. Problems will always arise when there is an underlying gut or physiological issues in the body that prevent glucose and carbs being utilized correctly. And this is the reason why I have zero issues and regrets with me personally following a higher carbohydrate diet. It's what we are designed to run on, and it's certainly what we are designed to thrive on. Now, just to caveat this, a high carb diet for me does not mean that I follow a low protein or a low fat diet. I make sure that I'm getting sufficient amounts of carbs, proteins and fats. So don't get caught up in these marketing diets of keto and other low carb diets. After all, name one animal that permanently lives in ketosis. And on that bombshell, that's the end of today's video. I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, remember to look after your body because it's the only place you have to live. And I'll see you next time.